Hi guys, for today's pick a card, we're going to be discussing how you can attract the right kind of people, the people who really love you and vice versa. So the way to go about this, I've said this before, by loving, it's going to sound silly, by seeing love through your heart, okay? So, there needs to be this balancing energy of from your mind and your heart, and you'll be able to attract the right kind of people who you will truly love and will truly love you for who you are. But in order to even get to that part, you have to be able to see people through your loving eyes. And what I mean by that is having compassion for people, being able to think with your heart. And I think hearing this is kind of confusing. It's like, what do you mean think with your heart? And why would I need to do that? So when you observe from your heart, you're bypassing the logical human brain and you start to understand your spirituality through your heart. You observe it with loving eyes. So the heart and the mind are connecting. And so remember how I said the mind and the heart, they need to come into balance in order to attract the right people. So when your heart and your mind are connecting, your heart becomes your center of consciousness and your center of experiencing life. So, sorry, I'm just going to grab these crystals. So seeing things, sorry, I wrote down little notes because I didn't want to forget anything. Seeing things from your heart chakra is what you would be doing essentially. You would be pulling things from your third eye or that intuitive, comprehensive ability. Understanding things with love. And that's what's hard because a majority of us don't do this because we have our guard up. A majority of us don't fully trust, but as long as we trust our intuition, we can be able to open up our heart chakra fully because we'll know if this is the right person or not. And because we will intuitively know if this is the right person or not, we know that we can give that person access to our heart. So when you do that, you have your open heart chakra and you can turn off your mind and just go with love. So I want to be able to, help you activate that. So you can go through this for a day. And by doing that, you would just have whatever experience you go through and just love it. And it sounds weird, but it's actually really hard. It's a really hard thing to do, to have an open heart chakra, because that means you'd have to trust. And I think sometimes we think we trust or we knowingly know, no, we don't trust. But I don't think we understand what that actually does. It's like if you're not in a relationship or if you're not in a good relationship or you constantly keep finding these same repetitive cycles over and over with other people, it's probably because your heart chakra is closed. I think about me and my situations and I'm like, well, I feel like my heart chakra was open, but it's it got to that point where it kind of wasn't open to a certain degree because I have this insecurity where I feel like nobody cares about the things I say. So therefore it's I'm constantly always listening to everybody else talk. And then I never really talk much about myself because I don't trust those people to care about what it is I have to say. So therefore, how can my heart chakra be fully open? And that's an energy, right? So these people are picking up on that energy. It's what's the mystery? What's the mystery? Can't trust her. Can't fully trust her. And it's that's going into each relationship, each connection I've ever had. And somewhere along the line, even though it's like, it's a good heart, it's a pure heart, it's just like, I'm picking up on, either these people that I've been with truly just didn't care to hear my stories, and I just was making excuses for these people's selfish behavior, because a lot of us tend to do this, right? Just like YouTubers, we talk about ourselves, but we're doing it for a purpose. It's like people out there resonate with us, and we're actually doing this to help other people because we're not alone. And in return, it helps us too. It's a giving and receiving connection with other people out there. So in these connections, it's like an insecurity, a personal insecurity of mine, where it's like, why would I open up? Like, this person isn't even asking. And what about you? It's like, I can't tell you how many times in my life I was just about to, say something or explain something, and it's like that person just like turned around, or they just continued talking about themselves or started talking more about themselves. And I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to talk, because it's okay. I don't even want to talk anyway, because I already have this insecurity of not caring, of thinking nobody's going to care. So it's like, therefore, my heart chakra could be really like that. You see what I mean? It's like, it should be like this, but it's really coming through like that. And that's an energy that's going out there into the world, to these connections, to these relationships, but it's being portrayed differently. People's egos distort that into, what is she keeping from me? You know what I mean? So therefore, the not trusting energy is still being put out there. It's just miscommunication in some kind of way, unfortunately. But that's on me, because somewhere along the line, I lost trust. No matter what, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's an insecurity from childhood that's grown into adulthood. I don't trust that person. I don't feel like that person cares. So my heart chakra is closed off in some kind of way. Therefore, how can this person truly love me for who I am when they don't even know who I really am? It makes sense, right? But it's like these straightforward things that I'm always saying, we really don't think about at that level. And it's funny because people want to talk shit about this shit. And it's like, guys, like, are you really thinking about it like this? It's like, they don't even realize, they don't want to think about it like that, because then it like comes back onto them, that they're the problem. We don't want to realize that we are in the situation we're in because we're the problem, and we're just attracting the same kind of energy. And I don't want to say same, I want to retract that. Similar energy. You see what I mean? By me not putting things out there, it's putting an energy out there of not being open, but people are misconstruing that for, why isn't she being open? Without realizing themselves, well, you kept rambling on about yourself, or you weren't really asking me anything. But then it's like, okay, well, you could have still added on whatever it is you wanted to talk about, or still added to the conversation, because you know why? Your voice matters. If you feel like your voice matters, if you feel like you have a story to say, and at the end of the day, why are you still talking to these people if you feel like they don't care? It speaks volumes about where I'm at. So just food for thought in regards to, if you believe your heart chakra is open, it may not be fully open. Because I would have been like, my heart chakra is definitely open. It's these guys whose heart chakra is closed, okay? But it's like, no, not so much. And that's, again, where law of attraction comes into. It's like, there's got to be something that's somewhat similar. It just may not be exactly the same energy, but somewhat similar. So anyway, so go through this for a day. Whatever experience you go through, just love it. Observe from your heart. Observe with loving eyes. Now, when you do this, this will bring confusion into clarity. Okay. It will dissolve your ego into light. I want to give you another example as to this, because this is a very hard exercise to do. You may be thinking, no, or stupid. It's not stupid. It's actually a really good exercise. So sometimes I'll do this without even knowing that this is what I'm doing. I'm just trying to be a better person. My mom, I really try not to get into fights with her, but it's so hard not to, especially because coming into this, when you're on your spiritual journey, you'll start seeing things for as they really are, or you'll start realizing things during childhood that really played out and you really didn't see it that way, So my parents, they're divorced, and I was always living with my mom, single parent. I always thought I had to defend her. I always thought dad, bad, mom, good. But it just turned out years later, it's like, my mom's not a bad person at all, but she also wasn't that innocent like I always thought she was. So I've come to deal with these issues now as an adult, where it's like I have to deal with them now and heal them and put them to the side, because it's like I have to look at them, see them, and heal them, and that's it, because it doesn't serve a purpose anymore. But they need to be healed and they need to be done with, so to speak. So anyway, so I was on the phone with her, I think it was last week, and my father, his mother died in the summertime. And, it's a sensitive topic because it was just him, his mother, his father, and brother. His brother died a year ago, and his father died, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. So essentially his whole family's gone, and that's sad when you look at it that way. So, she used to sew or knit, whatever those things are, the hard one. And she made a lot of hats. And I don't want the hats. I just don't. I have so many hats. And it's going to sound so cold, but it's like I have so many of her sweaters, so many of her hats. And I don't have room, to be quite honest with you. I don't want to tell him that because, I don't. It's just not the time or the place or ever will it be. So I guess these hats that she sewed, he wanted my mom to give them to me. Somehow they were given to my mom to give to me. And I guess I was told this and I forgot about this. And I told my mom no. So my dad had asked me recently about it. He was like, by the way, did you ever get the hats? And I was like, no. And it was innocent. I really totally forgot all about it. And he's like, oh, I'm going to have to ask your mom about that. So I was like, okay. And he's like, do me a favor. If you speak to her before me, ask her about it. And I said, okay. So I brought it up and she was like, Sonny, you don't remember? I told you about them on the day of her funeral and you said you didn't want them. And I was like, oh my God, no, I totally forgot. I was like, did you already speak to him about it? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, what did you tell him? And she's like, I told him that you didn't have room for them. And I was like, okay, so is he aware that I'm aware of the hats? She goes, no. I go, okay. And I carried on, the conversation. She starts talking about something else. And then all of a sudden something hit me. I was like, wait a minute. You said he doesn't know that I'm aware of the hats. And she goes, yeah, he doesn't know. And I go, but you just said that you told him that I don't have room for the hats. Why would that even come up if I wasn't aware that the hats existed? And she's like, well, that's what I told him. And she started stumbling. When she starts stumbling, see, here's the difference. When she's stumbling, she got caught. I start stumbling because everybody has been convinced I've been a liar since I was a child, and I have this insecurity about it. And so I can't go down like this. So I know I have to have a conversation with my dad, and now I don't want to tell him essentially the truth. So now it's like my childhood is coming up all over again. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta lie. And here's the thing, I live a very karmic life. Any lie that I have ever tried to get away with in this life, it always comes back times. It literally, I cannot tell a lie. It comes right back. There's literally no point. Like, I'm not even kidding. No fucking point. So I'm like, so I say that to her and she's like, well, I mean, I guess technically speaking. And I'm like, what are you doing? Because with her, she'll go in this full fucking circle. She'll go in a full circle just to do it. And it's like, it went nowhere. We're back at square one, but she'll take no accountability. She won't apologize, and she'll still not see exactly what it is, what just happened. So I'm like, oh my God, this is the beginning of what she always does. She does the same shit all the time. And I'm trying to have patience. I'm like, dear Lord, mercy, give me patience. please, for this woman, please have mercy on my soul. And she's like, well, I mean, I guess technically he knows because, like, I told him that I got it around the day of the funeral. And I told him that, you didn't have room for it. It's not that you didn't want it. So I tried to follow that mind fuck of a fuck. And I was like, and I'm not calling her that. I'm just saying the words that came out of her mouth. I was like, so you just didn't tell him that I didn't want it, but you told him that I knew about it. She's like, yeah. I was like, listen, I'm not trying to start a fight with you. I was like, but you understand the situation you would have just put me in. I was just about to go speak to him to let him know that I spoke to you about the house. I was like, it would have been terrible. And she's like, oh my God. And that's like the worst thing you can fucking do is when you pull that shit with me. Cause it's like, what, like, were you just here in the conversation? We just rationalized what was wrong and what could have just gone wrong because of what you just told me. You gave me wrong information. And I don't even know how you could have fucked that up, but somehow you fucked it up. We caught the fuck up and you're getting mad at me. It's like she's subconsciously manipulating me. And it's like, and I'm trying to explain to her, I'm like, I just don't, I'm not mad at you. It's just like, and then it's like, why am I even bothering? I'm literally wasting my time. And so it's like getting back to this, going through a day with whatever experience you go through with just loving. I've seen her natal chart, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but this is the full truth. She's got like a Capricorn moon. If you even read up on that shit, they're not capable. And she's also a Taurus, no offense to my Tauruses, but like, it's like the emotions that goes on with these people, they're not able, they act with the Capricorn moon very cold, just very cold. Like they have so much emotions inside and they love you to death, but they can't act. They don't show that. She'll hang up the phone and she'll just be like, I just don't understand. It's my daughter. I love her. She's my best friend. Like, where did I go wrong? And she'll just do it all in private. And it's like, why are you doing that? Like this makes no fucking sense. So it's like seeing that situation with loving eyes it's not her fault. It's literally not her fault. She also has like 29 degrees of Saturn. She is constantly making the same mistake over and over again her whole fucking life. She is constantly repeating cycles with the same people, the same problems, and she's not learning from them. Literally. We have the same conversations every time, and she says the same fucking lines every time, and I'm like, we're just going to do this in 2 weeks from now. I know it. So it's like, if I know, higher perspective, just be the bigger person, but it's so much easier said than done. So seeing that situation, which makes me want to take out my fucking eyeballs and dig out my fucking ears, seeing her through loving eyes would be, that's got to be a tough life. Like, oh my God. Because I'm seeing it. I'm seeing her chart play out in real time. And I'm like, that sucks. Like, and I see my chart play out and I'm like, oh no, poor girl. We got to get through this together, And it's like, but her chart, she, if I were to read her chart and I have a time, she's like, yeah, like I don't really resonate with that. And I'm like, really? This is you. Like, this is all you. How do I not look at her with loving eyes? Like, all right, well, enjoy your next life. But that's an asshole. That's not cool. So, I digress. So that's what I mean. So going through this for a day with whatever experience you go through, just love it. Because if you at least attempt to do that, you will see what it means to love with your, sorry, I'm wording it wrong. You will see what it's like to observe with loving eyes through your heart. It's hard for some people. But that is the bigger picture. And that's also like the art of letting go, right? The art of letting go is literally letting go. So when you observe through loving eyes, this true love awakens within you. This is when you attract people who really love you and vice versa. So, with that being said, pile 1, if you feel like this crystal resonates with you, green for the heart chakra. Pile 2, if you feel like this green crystal resonates with you. You can't tell it's green, but it's green with sparkles. Feel free to fast forward to pile 2. All right, we have a pile 1. How can you observe through your heart? Bypass the logical human brain and you start to understand your spirituality through your heart. Observe with loving eyes. How can your heart become your center of consciousness? Okay. Hi, pile 1. How can your heart become your center of consciousness? How can your heart become your center of consciousness? The divine masculine. How can your heart become your center of consciousness? Observe. It came in reverse, but we don't need reversals for this reading. How can your heart become your center of consciousness? That's when you attract people who really love you and vice versa. Possessions, belongings, finances, assets, treasures. How can your heart become your center of consciousness? So red is root chakra, firm foundation, and the girl is like a tree or something. I see the branches sticking out of her. Okay, so let's channel this. How can your heart become your center of consciousness? I'm seeing you. Look up. Do you make eye contact? I don't know why. They're really focusing on your eyes. I mean, I know observe came through, right? But it's like... rings are coming out of your eyes. They really want you to commit to... Oh, I'm feeling it. Watch people's physical gestures when they talk. Watch. Just watch. Be committed to this. You're going to start picking up on stuff. You'll be able to intuitively see something about people that you weren't seeing before. This makes you more connected with people through your heart. You'll have compassion, which you may be lacking. Movement, wine opener, driver. Movement with opening, controlling. I see you writing. Movement with opening up to your emotions. So, oh yeah, that is the divine masculine. Movement with opening up. Okay. Yeah, you got it the first time you said it. Can you? I'm just kidding. I'm trying to figure out where this old school telephone's coming from right now, because I feel like it's a little weird. It's coming from your underwear. Why? Why do I do that? You're not going to see more. I'm seeing somebody's ankles. What are those things called? Chains? Like hardly able to move, but moving because of happiness. We're back at the eye. Okay, so the heart and the mind are connecting, and your heart becomes your center of consciousness, your center of experiencing life, seeing things from your heart chakra, telling things from your third eye, or that intuitive, comprehensive ability, and understanding things with love. So this exercise, turn off your mind and go with love. Try to do this for a day. Try to turn off the mind. And if you forget randomly throughout the day, which I guarantee you will, that's fine. Try to just randomly do this with strangers or people you interact with. And there was really a big message about like looking, observing. And what is it that you see? What do you feel with what you see? Turn off your mind. I hope that makes sense. Because you can get messages that way. And I know that's so straightforward because that's how intuition works, right? But it's like, maybe somehow you turn this off and you don't even know it. All right, the divine masculine. When harnessed in a healthy way, The divine masculine creates structure for the benefit of all he touches. The divine masculine, oh wait. Okay, sorry. The divine masculine emerges in direct response to the presence of the divine feminine. He is always present, but needs the positive space created and held by the feminine in order to grow and develop. This masculine energy is characterized by protecting what is truly valuable, being attentive, helpful, and able to make decisions. It displays leadership qualities, a sense of accomplishment, and set goals, building and creating for the good of all rather than individual gain, while facing and overcoming challenges in a more linear, direct approach to getting things done. The masculine is sensitive, spiritual, and intuitive, but he approaches and expresses these qualities in ways that are different from the feminine. The masculine enjoys getting results and experiencing a physical outcome from his effort, often utilizing art or music as a rich embellishment to honor the feminine energy that also flows through his creation. The divine masculine can move mountains, yet be incredibly subtle at the same time. He needs to return to the feminine forces regularly to replenish him, which in the past was regarded as a weakness, leading to the distorted approach of attempting to dominate or control the feminine. Yet when he looks around him, he sees that the feminine is available to him in unlimited abundance, and he is free. You have drawn this card today because your masculine energy needs to create or achieve something, to bring a project through to its fulfilling conclusion for the good of all, and to let go of the idea that you are weak because you need the nurturing support of the feminine. Look to the things that need to be done in your life. Look to where you are too hard on yourself or excessively independent, and give your divine masculine permission to work his magic in his own way. Your heart becomes your center of consciousness. Sorry. Your heart becomes your center of consciousness. So I feel like we're getting two messages here. I feel like your heart, how can you get your heart to become your center of consciousness? For sure by observing. You're coming through as needing to step into your intuition more with people by turning off the mind. Because sometimes when we overthink, we then make something there. We turn something into something it isn't. So definitely observe and pick up on what you're feeling from these things, and see if you could just feel or understand. Like, I'll pick up on my mom's energy where she's just like, she just wants to be my best friend again. And I'm like, no. Sorry. No, I love her. I love her. I really do. Just, sometimes space is needed between people, and it doesn't mean it's forever. It just means you need space. That's all. Kylo. He doesn't understand. So yeah, that's what I mean by like observe. Maybe, and so that makes me feel compassionate for her too. But there's a difference. So if like when you do this and you start to feel bad, get out of that. It's good that you're observing that. If you should feel bad about something, then that's different. But like, we're not here to fix people's problems. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. I'm looking at my lights over there. Sorry. But, oh, the second message that's coming through for you. So I feel like for you, you're also coming through as somebody, so we got possessions over here, and I felt like that kind of confused me. But I feel like it's coming through, root chakra, firm foundation, how you can get your heart, how your heart becomes your center of consciousness. So the root chakra, those are your roots. That's grounding energy. It's earth energy. It's stability. So I feel like this is needed as well. Maybe this currently lacks in some kind of way. But I also feel like what's coming through is for you. You're supposed to step into something in order to get you to this as well. Because when we don't step into our power, it's hard. It's close. I don't even know if it's possible to really get real love. Like, I mean, I guess it really depends what you're going for. Like, I think there's many soulmates out there. I know there's many soulmates out there. I don't question that. But it's like, I feel like this message is coming through for a reason. It's saying you've drawn this card today because your masculine energy needs to create or achieve something, to bring a project through to its fulfilling conclusion for the good of all, and to let go of the idea that you are weak because you need the nurturing support of the feminine. So sorry, just give me a second here. Sometimes if we feel like, some of us have this stronger calling in life where we feel like we really need to do something. And if like we don't do that, if we don't achieve that, it's like we feel like one of those, what do you call those people? And I don't mean to offend anybody, but like, you know, those like athletes that like got hurt in high school or college and then they never made it big. Like, we all know one of them because it's like they remind us that every chance they can that they were supposed to make it big. And it's like, okay, well, you could still do something with that. There's so many like things behind the scenes within sports and business related aspects that you could probably rock out because you know sports so well. But instead it just kind of turns into that has been story, you know? So I'm almost picking up here that you have to achieve something in order to be this divine masculine. So we all have the divine feminine, we all have the divine masculine within us, right? And it's almost like in order for you to feel good about yourself, you have to achieve something. So if that is a message and you resonate with that, then you have to go with that. And just know that if that's what you're feeling, you're right. Then no relationship is gonna, you're never gonna be able to get to your heart being the center of your consciousness. You could do this experiment so you can feel out what this feeling is if you're unaware, but that's just how it goes down. So hope that helped. I hope that resonated, and I'm sending you love and light. Bye. Okay. Oh, wait. Hold on. Do I want to read the book? Yeah, let's read the book. I love doing the book. Let's do the book. 7 ways to cultivate a mental attitude that will bring you peace and happiness. 8 words that can transform your life. A few years ago, I was asked to answer this question on a radio program. What is the biggest lesson you have ever learned? Well, that was easy. By far the most vital lesson I've ever learned is the importance of what we think. If I knew what you think, I would know what you are. Our thoughts make us what we are. I remember one of my professors said that actually, and I thought it was like the most amazing quote I ever heard. You are your thoughts. Whoa. It's true though. Our thoughts make us what we are. Our mental attitude is the X factor that determines our fate. Emerson said, "A man is what he thinks about all day long. How could he possibly be anything else?" I now know with a conviction beyond all doubt that the biggest problem you and I have to deal with, in fact, almost the only problem we have to deal with, is choosing the right thoughts. If we can do that, we will be on the high road to solving all our problems. The great philosopher who ruled the Roman Empire, Marcus Aurelius, summed it up in 8 words. 8 words that can determine your destiny. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Yes, if we think happy thoughts, we will be happy. If we think fear thoughts, we will be fearful. If we think sickly thoughts, we will probably be ill. If we think failure, we will certainly fail. If we wallow in self-pity, everyone will want to shun us and avoid us. You are not, said Norman Vincent Peale, you are not what you think you are, but what you think you are. Whoa. Just kidding. All right. Chapter 5, Mental Healings in Modern Times. Everyone is definitely concerned with the healing of bodily conditions and human affairs. What is it that heals? Where is this healing power? These are questions asked by everyone. The answer is that this healing power is in the subconscious mind of each person, and a changed mental attitude on the part of the sick person releases this healing power. No mental or religious science practitioner, psychologist, psychiatrist, or medical doctor ever healed a patient. There is an old saying, the doctor dresses the wound, but God heals it. Damn. The psychologist or psychiatrist proceeds to remove the mental blocks in the patient so that the healing principle may be released, restoring the patient to health. Likewise, the surgeon removes the physical block, enabling the healing currents to function normally. No physician, surgeon, or mental science practitioner claims that he healed the patient. The one healing power is called by many names: nature, life, God, creative intelligence, and subconscious power. As previously outlined, there are many different methods used to remove the mental, emotional, and physical blocks, which inhibit the flow of the healing life principle, animating all of us. The healing principle resident in your subconscious mind can and will, if properly directed by you or some other person, heal your mind and body of all disease. This healing principle is operative in all men, regardless of creed, color, or race. You do not have to belong to some particular church in order to use and participate in this healing process. Your subconscious will heal the burn or cut on your hand, even though you profess to be an atheist or agnostic. The modern mental therapeutic procedure is based on the truth that the infinite intelligence and power of your subconscious mind responds according to your faith. The mental science practitioner or minister follows the injunction of the Bible. He goes into his closet and shuts the door, which means he stills his mind, relaxes, lets go, and thinks of the infinite healing presence within him. He closes the door of his mind to all outside distractions, as well as appearances, and then he quietly and knowingly turns over his request or desire to his subconscious mind, realizing that the intelligence of his mind will answer him according to his specific needs. The most wonderful thing to know is this: imagine the end desired and feel its reality. Then the infinite life principle will respond to your conscious choice and your conscious request. This is the meaning of believe you have received and you shall receive. This is what the modern mental scientist does when he practices prayer therapy. All right, last one. And so the expansion of the universe and your personal expansion will always be as follows. You live in an expanding universe. You live in an expanding physical world. You are expanding being. And all of this is whether you consciously understand it or not. The universe is externally expanding, and so are you. And that is good. Consciously participate in your own delicious expansion. We eagerly offer you perspective to you for one reason only, so that you may consciously participate in your own delicious expansion. Your expansion is a given. The expansion of your time-space reality is a given. And the expansion of this universe is a given. It is just ever so much more satisfying for you to consciously and deliberately participate in your own expansion. Cool. All right, pile one. That's it. That's all I got for you. All right. Bye. Hi, pile two. Okay. So, how can your heart become your center of consciousness? Intimacy. Okay. Your heart becomes your center of consciousness. How can I get your heart to become your center of consciousness? So, more touchy-feely. Healing begins. Oh, well, thank God they cleared that up. I was just about to say. Your heart becomes your center of consciousness. How do we get your heart to become your center of consciousness? Ooh. Dreams, messages, signs, symbols, guidance. All right, let's channel. How can pile two get their heart to be the center of their consciousness? By expressing how you feel. Yeah, I'm seeing you being open and expressing your feelings. So I'm seeing like a wand go into the sky with a crystal ball. Like there's a crystal ball at the top of the wand. And it goes into the sky that has tons of stars. Like you threw it in there. I'm picking up on spirituality. Because I'm seeing so much energy come from this sky. Like literally, like I feel like I'm seeing a sunflower come from the sky and like electricity, which usually is referring to psychic abilities. So maybe you have that or strong intuition. But usually when I see electricity, it's psychic abilities. So maybe healing through psychic work, spiritual work, intuition. manifesting, like moon energy, things like that, like doing rituals, like manifestation, working with full moons, new moons, those make you feel better. I'm seeing like a crystal ball being like thrown into your subconscious mind. I almost feel like it's your spirit guides, and they're filling up your mind with water. Like there's something about like speaking in an intimate way, you know, regarding your feelings. It's like they want you to feel. There's something about feeling going on. It's like they want it to just pour out of you, and somehow this connects with, by being like this open person about your feelings, it like makes you think with your heart, connect with your heart. It's helping you also, I see, release your anger or something like that, or it's like energetically, by like being open about your feelings, by them like, I almost felt like it was like a blockage being released or unblocked, something like that. So it's like the water was coming up. So it's like maybe at one time this was blocked. So it's like you weren't able to communicate on an intimate type of in an intimate type of way, like a loving type of way. Kyla, are you okay? Becomes your center of consciousness. Dreams. Yeah, I feel like your spirit guides are connecting with you. They're guiding you. They're helping you express yourself, like your truest self. Almost like so it's like repetitive cycles, like curses don't happen anymore. Yes, that is precisely what Gilbert and Sullivan did. They knew how to create gay words and gay music, but they knew distressingly little about how to create gately in their own lives. They created some of the loveliest light operas they ever delighted the world, Patience, Pinafore, The Mikado. But they couldn't control their tempers. They embittered their years over nothing more than the price of a carpet. Sullivan ordered a new carpet for the theater they had bought. When Gilbert saw the bill, he hit the roof. They battled it out in court. They never spoke to one another again as long as they lived. When Sullivan wrote the music for a new production, he mailed it to Gilbert, and when Gilbert wrote the words, he mailed them back to Sullivan. Once they had to take a curtain call together, but they stood on opposite sides of the stage and bowed in different directions so they wouldn't see one another. They hadn't the sense to put a stop-loss order on their resentments as Lincoln did. Once during the Civil War, when some of Lincoln's friends were denouncing his bitter enemies, Lincoln said, "You have more of a feeling of personal resentment than I have. Perhaps I have too little of it, but I never thought it paid. A man doesn't have the time to spend half his life in quarrels. If any man ceases to attack me, I never remember the past against him." I wish an old aunt of mine, Aunt Edith, had had Lincoln's forgiving spirit. No! I thought I stopped filming. Shit. Where was I? She and Uncle Frank lived on a mortgaged farm that was infested with cockleburs and cursed with poor soil and ditches. They had tough going, had to squeeze every nickel, but Aunt Edith loved to buy a few curtains and other small items to brighten up their beer home. She bought these small luxuries on credit at Dan Eversole's dry goods store in Maryville, Missouri. Uncle Frank worried about their debts. He had a farmer's horror of running up bills, so he secretly told Dan Eversole to stop letting his wife buy on credit. When she heard that, she hit the roof, and she was still hitting the roof about it almost 50 years after it had happened. I have heard her tell the story not once but many times. The last time I ever saw her, she was in her late 70s. I said to her, "Aunt Edith, Uncle Frank did wrong to humiliate you, but don't you honestly feel that your complaining about it almost half a century after it happened is infinitely worse than what he did?" I might as well have said it to the moon. Aunt Edith paid dearly for the grudges and bitter memories that she nourished. She paid for them with her own peace of mind. When Benjamin Franklin was 7 years old, he made a mistake that he remembered for 70 years. When he was a lad of 7, he fell in love with a whistle. He was so excited about it that he went into the toy shop, piled all his coppers on the counter, and demanded the whistle without even asking its price. I then came home. He wrote to a friend 70 years later and went whistling all over the house, much pleased with my whistle. But when his older brothers and sisters found out that he had paid far more for his whistle than he should have paid, they gave him the horse laugh, and, as he said, I cried with vexation. Years later, when Franklin was a world-famous figure, an ambassador to France, he still remembered that the fact that he had paid too much for his whistle had caused him more chagrin than the whistle gave him pleasure. But the lesson it taught Franklin was cheap in the end. As I grew up, he said, and came into the world and observed the actions of men, I thought I met with many, very many, who gave too much for the whistle. In short, I conceive that a great part of the miseries of mankind are brought upon them by the false estimates they have made of the value of things, and by their giving too much for their whistles. Gilbert and Sullivan paid too much for their whistle. So did Aunt Edith. So did Dale Carnegie on many occasions, and so did the immortal Leo Tolstoy, author of 2 of the world's greatest novels, War and Peace and Anna Karenina. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, Leo Tolstoy was, during the last 20 years of his life, probably the most venerated man in the whole world. For 20 years before he died, from 1890 to 1910, an unending stream of admirers made pilgrimages to his home in order to catch a glimpse of his face, to hear the sound of his voice, or even touch the hem of his garment. Every sentence he uttered was taken down in a notebook, almost as if it were a divine revelation. But when it came to living to ordinary living, well, Tolstoy had even less sense at 70 than Franklin had at 7. He had no sense at all. Here's what I mean. Tolstoy married a girl he loved very dearly. In fact, they were so happy together that they used to get on their knees and pray to God to let them continue their lives in such sheer heavenly ecstasy. But the girl Tolstoy married was jealous by nature. She used to dress herself up as a peasant and spy on his movements, even out in the woods. They had fearful rows. She became so jealous even of her own children that she grabbed a gun and shot a hole in her daughter's photograph. She even rolled on the floor with an opium bottle, held to her lips, and threatened to commit suicide, while the children huddled in a corner of the room and screamed with terror. And what did Tolstoy do? Well, I don't blame the man for up and smashing the furniture. He had good provocation. But he did far worse than that. He kept a private diary. Yes, a diary in which he placed all the blame on his wife. That was his whistle. He was determined to make sure that coming generations would exonerate him and put the blame on his wife. And what did his wife do? In answer to this, why, she tore pages out of his diary and burned them, of course. She started a diary of her own in which she made him the villain. She even wrote a novel entitled Whose Fault?, in which she depicted her husband as a household fiend and herself as a martyr. All to what end? Why did these two people turn the only home they had into what Tolstoy himself called a lunatic asylum? Obviously, there were several reasons. One of those reasons was their burning desire to impress you and me. Yes, we are the posterity whose opinion they were worried about, but we give a hoot in Hades about which one was to blame. No, we are too concerned with our own problems to waste a minute thinking about the Tolstoys. What a price these two wretched people paid for their whistle. 50 years of living in a veritable hell, just because neither of them had the sense to say stop. Because neither of them had enough judgment of values to say, let's put a stop-loss order on this thing instantly. We're squandering our lives. Let's say enough now. Yes, I honestly believe that this is one of the greatest secrets to true peace of mind, a decent sense of values, and I believe we could annihilate 50% of all our worries at once if we would develop a sort of private gold standard, a gold standard of what things are worth to us in terms of our lives. Why it's not normal to be healthy, vital, and strong. It's abnormal to be sick. The average child born into the world is perfectly healthy with all its organs functioning perfectly. This is the normal state, and we should remain healthy, vital, and strong. The instinct of self-preservation is the strongest instinct of your nature, and it constitutes a most potent, ever-present, and constantly operative truth inherent in your nature. It is therefore obvious that all your thoughts, ideas, and beliefs must operate with greater potential when they are in harmony with the innate life principle in you, which is forever seeking to preserve and protect you along all lines. It follows from this that normal conditions can be restored with greater ease and certainty, that abnormal conditions can be induced. Are you okay? It is abnormal to be sick. It simply means you are going against the stream of life and thinking negatively. The law of life is the law of growth. All nature testifies to the operation of this law by silently, constantly expressing itself in the law of growth. Where there is growth and expression, there must be life. Where there is life, there must be harmony. And where there is harmony, there is perfect health. If your thought is in harmony with the creative principle of your subconscious mind, you are in tune with the innate principle of harmony. If you entertain thoughts which are not in accordance with the principle of harmony, these thoughts cling to you, harass you, worry you, and finally bring about disease, and, if persisted in, possibly death. In the healing of disease, you must increase the inflow and distribution of the vital forces of your subconscious mind throughout your system. This can be done by eliminating thoughts of fear, worry, anxiety, jealousy, hatred, and every other destructive thought which tends to tear down and destroy your nerves and glands, body tissue, which controls the elimination of all waste material. Chapter 22, the different degrees of your emotional guidance scale. You might say that different emotions have different vibrational frequencies, but a more accurate way of saying it would be your emotions are indicators of your vibrational frequency. When you remember that your emotions indicate your degree of alignment with source energy, and that the better you feel, the more you are allowing your alignment with the things you desire, then it is easier to understand how to respond to your emotions. Absolute alignment with your own source energy means that you know the following. You are free, you are powerful, you are good, you are loved, you have value, you have purpose, all is well. At any time that you are thinking thoughts that cause you to know your true nature, you are in alignment with who you really are, for this is the state of absolute alignment, and the way those thoughts feel is the ultimate emotion of connection. When you think in terms of a fuel gauge on a vehicle, this state of alignment would be in the same as a full tank. In other words, imagine a gauge or a scale with gradations or degrees, which indicate the position of the fullest allowance of your connection with the source energy, all the way to your emptiest, most resistant disallowance of your alignment with your source energy. A scale of your emotions would look something like this: joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, appreciation, passion, enthusiasm, eagerness, happiness, positive expectation, belief, optimism, hopefulness, contentment, boredom, pessimism, frustration, irritation, impatience, overwhelmment, disappointment, doubt, worry, blame, discouragement, anger, revenge, hatred, rage, jealousy, insecurity, guilt, unworthiness, fear, grief, depression, despair, powerfulness. There's water right there. Right there. Yep. Powerlessness. Since the same words are often used to mean different things and different words are often used to mean the same things, these word labels for your emotions are not absolutely accurate for every person who feels the emotion. In fact, giving word labels to the emotions could cause confusion and distract you from the real purpose of your emotional guidance scale. The thing that matters most is that you consciously reach for a feeling that is improved. The word for the feeling is not important. All right. Let's read. Intimacy. True intimacy occurs when you reveal the tender, innocent, and idealistic side of yourself. Be open to its loving influence in your life. True intimacy is a powerful and beautiful energy that will transform your relationships. Most of us have experienced physical intimacy during sex, yet we all know that sex, no matter how good, does not sustain a full relationship. Emotional and spiritual intimacies are the key to a deeper interpersonal connection. In recent years, intimacy between friends and partners has been replaced by the sharing of emotional and spiritual wounds by the angels and guides. But the angels and guides say that your potential or existing partner is not meant to be your healer or therapist. In fact, a tendency to bring your past hurts and disappointments into conversations with your beloved can actually keep them alive or unconsciously make your partner feel responsible for fixing you and your problems. Those matters are best dealt with by an objective and caring professional. The kind of intimacy your heart truly desires shows up when you and your partner reveal that the innocent, tender, idealistic, and creative sides of yourself to one another. These parts of your personality are often playful, cheeky, irreverent, childlike, and joyful. They are not concerned about what the neighbors think. Of course, intimacy can include sharing your secret fears with your partner too, but do so in a way that makes it clear that you are simply revealing an intimate truth about yourself rather than burdening your beloved with your concerns. Intimacy also includes physical closeness without sex. Feeding one another, washing or styling your partner's hair, placing a blanket over your partner when they fall asleep, or having a bath together are just a few examples. Some of the most profound, intimate moments happen when there is no conversation at all, and your beautiful connection is enhanced by a glorious sunset or graceful bird on the wing. You have drawn this card today because your soul longs for you to understand how real intimacy arises and to make yourself available to its loving influences from now on. I love it. So I feel like in order for your heart to become your center of consciousness, it's like you need to open up freely. You need to express how you really feel. Because like I said, it's like water was coming up. I saw you connecting with the cosmos. I saw energy going back and forth. So I feel like in order for your heart to become your center of consciousness, it's like there needs to be that understanding that we're all one. Because in spirituality, when you're on your path and on your journey, that's what you come to understand, is that we're all one. We're all under one consciousness. It's a really hard concept to understand. But I feel like your guides are with you constantly, like keeping you on track or something like that, so your heart can become your center of your consciousness. I think as long as you're open about your feelings, you're doing it. Think from a place of feelings, like not logically. Like, how does it feel when someone is talking to you about whatever it is they're going through, without trying to logically break it down? So go through this for a day. Whatever experience you go through, just love it. Observe from your heart. Observe with loving eyes. This will bring the confusion to clarity, dissolve the ego to light. When you observe through loving eyes, this true love awakens within you by expressing yourself back. So whatever happens throughout the day, whether it's when people interact with you, I would just make sure that your feelings are in it. Make sure it's like no surface stuff. That's what was coming through for you. There was nothing surface about any of it. Everything was present with emotion. Somebody who actually cared. I think we all know that one person where it's like, it's just like we feel good talking to them, because it's like you could feel like shit, and then after you talk to them, you feel good about yourself. It's like, it's because that person has got it. They're responding on an emotional level. Yeah, intimacy, healing, messages, guidance. Your heart becomes your center of consciousness when you respond in a loving way. So that's what I got for you. I hope that resonated with you, and I'm sending you love and light.